रूपम सागर जातम सर्वनाथान्वितम तम सजीवम साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सर्वललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भूतवेदांत स्वामिन्यति नामने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी विचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, we are in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 20, from text 120 onwards. Heading Chit Shaktiman Parmeshwarer Avaroha Avatar Varnan. Now Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a description of the Supreme Lord's descent or his incarnations. The Supreme Lord himself is the possessor of the spiritual potency. So even when he descends, he is still the possessor of spiritual potency. Maya Joyer Ekmatra Upay, the one and only means to conquer over Maya. Text 120. Okay, it's better if I make it slightly bigger. साधु शास्त्र कृपाय यदि कृष्णोन्मुख হয় সেই জীব নিস্তরে মায়া তাহারে ছাড়য়. If the conditioned soul becomes Krishna conscious by the mercy of saintly persons who voluntarily breathe scriptural injunctions and help him to become Krishna conscious, the conditioned soul is liberated from the clutches of Maya. Who gives him up? So first of all, we need the mercy of saintly persons. Sadhu Kripa, Sadhu Shastra Kripa. By the mercy of Sadhu Shastra Kripa, we become Krishna Mukha. Okay, 120. Amrta-Pravaha. Krishna Bahirmukhatha, Vaitei, Je, Jeever Patan, Ikha, Sadhu, Shastra Kripa, Jana Jai. We can understand from the mercy of the saintly authorities and Shastra that the Jiva's fall down has happened only because of his aversion to Lord Krishna. And Taha Janiya, after knowing this, Je Jeev Punarai Krishnonmukhahan, that Jiva who once again becomes submissive to Krishna, Tini Nistar Labh Kare, he attains deliverance. And Maya Taha ke paritag kare, and Maya abandons him. Manu Jeev Krishna Bimukh Thakiya Samsare Sukha Bhoge Bestahon. When the Jiva becomes averse to Lord Krishna, he becomes busy in experiencing the happiness of samsara. Samsara means the repetition of birth and death, the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, material existence. Vaishnav Kripaye o Shastra Anugrahe Karma Phala Bhog Vasana Nirmukta Hoiya Tini Krishna Sebaye Unmukh Hoile ভোগ করিবার বা মুক্ত হইবার পিপাসা হইতে নিস্তার লাভ করেন. When, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas and by the blessings of Shastra, one becomes free from the propensities for enjoying the results of his karma, then he becomes favorable towards the service of Lord Krishna. When that happens, then he attains deliverance from the thirst for enjoyment or liberation. Krishna seva para buddhi hoile विषय भोग वासना रूपा माया ताहके छाड़िया दे. When one's intelligence becomes focused on serving Lord Krishna, then maya in the form of the propensity for enjoying sense objects abandons him. Krishna sevon mukh hoile তখন জীব আর অহংগ্রহ উপাসনায় মত্ত হইয়া মুক্তিকামী জ্ঞানী বা বিষয় ভোগ বাসনা ক্রমে ফলভোগকামী হইয়া কৃষ্ণেতর বস্তুতে আবদ্ধ হন না. When one becomes favorable to the service of Lord Krishna, when the jiva becomes favorable to the service of Lord Krishna, he no longer becomes maddened by ahangraha upasana. Ahangraha upasana is a system of meditation where one considers himself to be God. So he is no longer maddened by this process of ahangraha upasana, and in that way become a jnani desiring mukti, or as a result of possessing the strong desires for enjoying sense objects, he does not become arrested by objects other than Lord Krishna, by becoming a desirer of the results of performing pious activities. So the idea is that when the Jivatma becomes favorable to serving Krishna, then he does not become arrested by anything other than Krishna in one of two ways. He does not develop the idea that he should become a jnani desiring impersonal liberation through the pathway of ahangraha upasana, nor does he have a desire to become a karmi with the desire for experiencing the material benefits of performing pious activities. And that is through cultivating the desire for regulated sense enjoyment. Parantu, on the other hand, mayar hasto hoite nistar labh karen. On the other hand, he becomes delivered from the hands of Maya. Purport: the conditioned soul is one who has forgotten Krishna as his eternal master. Thinking that he is enjoying the material world, the conditioned soul suffers the threefold miseries of material existence. Saintly persons, sadhus, Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, preach Krishna consciousness on the basis of the Vedic literature. It is only by their mercy that the conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness. When he is awakened, he is no longer eager to enjoy the materialistic way of life. Instead, he devotes himself to the loving transcendental service of the Lord. When one engages in the Lord's devotional service, he becomes detached from material enjoyment. Bhakti pareshana bhavo viraktiranyatra chaishatrika ekakalaha. Bhagavatam 11.2.42. This is the test by which one can tell whether he is advancing in devotional service. One must be detached from material enjoyment. Such detachment means that Maya has actually given the conditioned soul liberation from illusory enjoyment. When one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, he does not consider himself as good as Krishna. Whenever he thinks that he is the enjoyer of material advantages, he is imprisoned in the bodily conception. However, when he is freed from the bodily conception, he can engage in devotional service, which is his actual position of freedom from the clutches of Maya. This is all explained in the following verse from the Bhagavad Gita 7.14. Okay. Then we come to 121. Heading. Ekmatra Krishner Sharanagato Bhaktai Maya Joyi. Only that Bhakta of Lord Krishna who is surrendered to him is a conqueror of Maya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as stated in Srimad Bhagavad Gita 7.14, 121, Daivi Shesha Gunamayi Mamamaya Durattiya Mameveye Prapadyante Maya Me Tantaranti Te. This divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Amrta-Pravaha. Hey three Gunamayi Modiya Maya. This Maya of mine, this Maya which consists of three modes of material nature, अत्यंत कष्टे पार हो जाए, can be crossed over with great difficulty. आमा के जीवी प्रपत्ति करे, he who surrenders unto me, तिनी केवल ये माया पार होइते पारे. Only such a person can cross over Maya. There's a question here. Okay, wait. Where is the question? I thought I saw a question. Where is the question? I'm a little bit confused about this. Okay, wait.
In the chat.
Where is the chat? Okay, chat. Okay, got it. Chat. I'll keep it somewhere else. Where will I keep the chat? Anyway, if anyone wants to ask questions, you can also raise hands. That's another way. Otherwise, you can also write like here. That's another way. Okay, wait. Wait. When we say surrender here, what does it mean? It will come. It will be described. Prapati, Sharanagati will be described by Lord Chaitanya. It refers to 6 items. Okay. Anything? Anubhashya? Yes. Anubhashya. Esha मम परमेश्वरस्य दैवी अलौकिकी वैष्णवी गुणमयी सत्वरजस्तमोमयी माया बहिरंगा शक्तिः दुरत्यया भुक्ति मुक्ति वासना बद्ध जीवानां दुरतिक्रमा ही एव. Indeed, this Maya or external potency of mind, this Maya potency which belongs to me, the Supreme Lord, is Daivi. It is extraordinary. And it belongs to me. It belongs to me, Vishnu. It is Vaishnavi nature. It consists of the three modes of material nature, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. And it is actually very difficult to cross over for those jivas who are bound by desires for enjoying Maya or becoming freed from Maya, freed from the suffering imposed by Maya. Mam स्वरूप शक्ति युक्तम स्वयं भगवंतम कृष्णम ये जना प्रपद्यन्ते सर्वात्मना आश्रयम कुर्वन्ति. But those persons who surrender unto me, which means they take shelter of me in every manner. They take shelter of me means they take shelter of me, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, who is endowed with, who am endowed with my personal potency. Deva, only these persons. Eta mayam jiva vimohinim prakritim taranti. atikramanti, parajayante. Only they cross over this Maya. That means this Prakriti, this material nature, which bewilders the Jivatmas, these conditioned souls. In other words, they can defeat this Maya. Okay. Anything from teachings of Lord Chaitanya? Okay, teachings of Lord Chaitanya. A conditioned soul falsely thinks himself happy in the material world, but if he is favored by an unalloyed devotee, if he hears the unalloyed devotee's instructions, he gives up his desire for material enjoyment and becomes enlightened in Krishna consciousness. As soon as one enters into Krishna consciousness, his desire for material enjoyment is at once vanquished, and he gradually becomes free from material entanglement. There is no question of darkness where there is light, and Krishna consciousness is the light that dispels the darkness of material sense enjoyment. The Krishna conscious person is never under the false conception that he is one with God. Knowing that he would not be happy working for himself, he engages all his energies in the service of the Supreme Lord and thereby gains release from the clutches of the illusory material energy. In this connection, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita 7.14 where Krishna states, "My material energy, composed of the three modes of material nature, is very strong. It is very difficult to escape the clutches of the material energy, but one who surrenders unto me is easily freed from the clutches of Maya." 122. Heading. जीवेर प्रति अहेतुकी कृपामय अधोक्षज विष्णु अवतार प्राकट्य. Lord Vishnu is beyond the range of the senses. He's adhokshaja. And he's filled with causeless mercy towards the conditioned souls. And it is out of that mercy that he reveals, he manifests various incarnations. माया मुग्ध जीवे नाही स्वतः कृष्ण ज्ञान जीवे रे कृपाए कोयला कृष्ण वेद पुराण. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort, but out of causeless mercy, Lord Krishna compiled the Vedic literature and it supplements the Puranas. Anu, माया मुग्ध जीव प्रति क्षणे प्रति विषये स्वरूप विभ्रांति क्रमे निज भोग फल लाभार्थ नियुक्त थाकेन. The jivas who are bewildered by Maya at every moment and for every purpose, as a result of their bewilderment regarding their constitutional nature, are engaged in endeavors to attain the results of their own enjoyment. কখনো তিনি বদ্ধ বুদ্ধিতে ফল ভোগ কাম হইতে বিমোচন আকাঙ্ক্ষা করেন. Sometimes he hankers to become freed from the desires to enjoy the results, the enjoyable results of activities. কখনো বা তিনি ফলকামী হইয়া অনিত্য ভোগকে বহুমানন করেন. And sometimes he develops a desire to enjoy the results of his activities and he highly esteems temporary material enjoyment. Ubhaya sthale, under both circumstances, tahar mayachanna হইয়া কৃষ্ণ স্মরণ অভাব লক্ষিত হয়. him being covered by Maya leads to lack of remembrance of Lord Krishna, and that is very prominently visible. Tajjanna, therefore, परम कृष्ण तादृश भ्रांत बुद्धि कुविचार पर ओ भोग पर व्यक्ति के अमंगल হইতে उद्धार করিবার জন্য বেদ পুরাণ আদি প্রকাশ করিয়াছেন. Therefore, Lord Krishna, the most merciful Lord Krishna, in order to deliver these persons who are absorbed in misconceptions and who have a desire to enjoy this world from various forms of inauspiciousness. And therefore, he revealed the Vedas, the Puranas, and so on. A conditioned soul, a conditioned soul is bewildered by the Lord's illusory energy, Maya. Maya's business is to keep the conditioned soul forgetful of his real relationship with Krishna. Thus, the living entity forgets his real identity as spirit soul Brahman. Instead of realizing his factual position, thinks himself the product of the material energy. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.5, Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartham tatkritam chabhipadyate. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes reactions of material miseries. This is a description of Maya's action upon the conditioned soul, thinking himself a product of the material energy. The conditioned soul engages in the service of the material energy in so many ways. So now, thinking of himself as a product of material energy is a technical description of the conditioned soul identifying himself with his subtle body and then his gross body, both of which are products of material energy. He becomes a servant of lust, anger, greed, and envy. In this way, one totally becomes a servant of the illusory energy. Later, the bewildered soul becomes a servant of mental speculation, but in any case, he is simply covered by the illusory energy. Out of his causeless mercy and compassion, Krishna has compiled various Vedic literature in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a Shaktiavesh avatar of Lord Krishna. That is a general observation regarding Vyasadeva. In general, Vyasadeva is a Shaktiavesh incarnation. Sometimes the Lord himself becomes Vyasa, Vishnu Tattva. He has very kindly presented these literatures to awaken the conditioned soul to his senses. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the conditioned souls are guided by demons who do not care to read the Vedic literatures. Although there's an immense treasure house of knowledge, people are engaged in reading useless literature that will give them no information on how to get out of the clutches of Maya. One thing we should note is that in Vedanta Darshan, this is all very advanced Vedanta Darshan. In the Vedic system of analysis, first of all, there is epistemology, understanding what an analysis of what is the appropriate means to gather reliable knowledge. The next step is philosophy, to understand what exists. And then finally one comes to theology. The Supreme Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead, and one should engage in devotion service unto Him in order to attain love for Him. So there is a treasure house of knowledge regarding all of these different subjects. The purpose of the Vedic literatures is explained in the following verses. Heading: Krishna Trividha Prakashe Krishna Gyan Datri Rupe Avatirna. Krishna himself, in three different manifestations, incarnates as the bestower of knowledge regarding Krishna himself. So the first is Vedanta Bhashya Srimad Bhagavat. first of all incarnates in the form of Srimad Bhagavata, in the form of the Vedas, or in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a commentary on the Vedanta, the culminating portion of the teachings of the Vedas. The second form is Bhagavata Shrestha Guru. The Guru, by Guru here in this context, we are referring to the best of the Vaishnavas. That means the first class Vaishnava. And then the third form is the form of the Antaryami, the inner controller, the super soul. Okay, there's a question here.
Prabhu, the Vyasdev which just appeared this time, he is directly Lord.
So the current Vyasadeva?
Yes, Prabhu, like who appeared 5,000 years ago.
That is the current Vyasa. Vyasa is a post. The current Vyasa appears to be Lord Narayan himself. There's a famous statement which is found in not just in Mahabharata, it's found in Mahabharata, it's found in some other Purana also, two other Puranas at least Vishnu Purana and Vayu Prokta also, Upa Purana. It's also found in Mahabharata. And the meaning of that verse is, who other than Lord Narayana would have composed the Mahabharata? Kohyanyat Mahabharata Krid Bhave. He is Narayana himself. Vyasa is a post. In Vishnu Purana, we come across a list of various personalities who have been Vyasas. The previous Vyasa was Parashara. Parashara is the father of the current Vyasa. The Vyasas have individual names. Vyasa is a title. Veda Vyasa is a title. And then particular personalities have particular names. Krishna Dvaipayana is the name of the current Vyasa. The previous Vyasa was Parashara. The next Vyasa is supposed to be Ashwatthama. All right. The purpose of the Vedic literature is explained in the following verses. Okay, fine. Okay, 123. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janam Krishna Mor Prabhu Trata Jiver Hai Gyan. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master, and the super soul. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, and he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. (123), 124, 125, all of them are combined in Amrta-Pravaha. We'll see that later. 23. Okay, here is Vidvan Saraswati Thakur. Anubhashya. Shastra Guru or Chaitya Guru. 18 रूपे भगवान उदित होइया बद्ध जीवेर हृदय जीवेर प्रभु व जीवेर उद्धार करता प्रवृत्ति भाव समूह प्रकाश कराया दे. The Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, he reveals himself in three forms: in the form of Shastra, in the form of the Guru, and in the form of the Chaitya Guru. He manifests himself in this manner, and he causes the realizations such as he himself is the eternal master of the living entities, and he himself is the deliverer of the jivas, and so on. He causes the conditioned souls to realize these within the heart. Being forgetful of his real position, the conditioned soul may take help from Shastra, Guru, and the super soul within his heart. Krishna is situated within everyone's heart as a super soul, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 18.61. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshir janatishthati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, Arjuna. He is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. As the Shakti-Avesh avatar, Vyasadeva, Krishna teaches the conditioned soul through the Vedic literatures. Krishna externally appears as the spiritual master and trains the conditioned soul to come to Krishna consciousness. When his original Krishna consciousness is revived, the conditioned soul is delivered from the material clutches. Thus, a conditioned soul is always helped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in three ways: by the scriptures, the spiritual master, and the super soul within the heart. The Lord is the deliverer of the conditioned soul and is accepted as the Supreme Lord of all living entities. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This same instruction is found throughout all Vedic literatures. Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru act as the representatives of Krishna. And the Krishna consciousness movement is also taking place all over the universe. Whoever takes advantage of this opportunity becomes liberated. Okay, and then we come to 124, which is a heading. We come to the heading for 124. Ishwar विश्वासी मात्रे वेद के अपौरुषेय ज्ञान हेतु ग्रंथकार प्राग उक्त त्रिविध प्रमाणेर मध्ये सर्व प्रत्यक्षीकृत वेद बा श्रुति साहाज्ये निज वक्तव्य एकमात्र शुद्ध भक्ति श्रेष्ठ विधेयत्व संस्थापन शास्त्रे प्रतिपन्न त्रिविध अन्वेषणीय तत्व बा ब्रह्म वस्तु. Since all those who have faith in God, since the time they understand the Vedas to be the source of apaurushaya knowledge. Apaurushaya means that which is not generated from within material existence. Then with the assistance of the Vedas or the Shrutis, which are available for scrutiny by all. Now, this is one of the three sources of knowledge, pramanas, which have been already dealt with. So, with the assistance of the instruction coming from the Vedas, when one's own counsel is provided, so counsel is provided, but only in line with the teachings of the Shruti. So now, with that, it is understood that pure devotional service to Lord Krishna is the supreme teaching of the Vedas. In fact, in the Shastra, there are three subjects which are dealt with. Three spiritual topics. 124. There's a question here. Okay, what is the question?
Prabhu, when we say Sadhu, Shastra and Guru, so here I always get confusion. What is the difference that between Sadhu and Guru?
First of all, Shastra, that much we know. It is Shruti and scriptures which faithfully follow the Shruti. Okay. Next comes the Sadhu Parampara, the previous gurus. Then we come to Guru, the Guru who is accessible to us, from whom we can understand the teachings of the previous gurus and Shastra. Okay.
Okay, Prabhu.
124. वेद शास्त्र कहे संबंध अभिधेय प्रयोजन कृष्ण प्राप्य संबंध भक्ति प्राप्तियर साधन. The Vedic literatures give information about the living entity's eternal relationship with Krishna, which is called sambandha. The living entity's understanding of this relationship and is acting accordingly is called abhideya. Returning home back to Godhead is the ultimate goal of life and is called prayojana. One 24, 125 also is supposed to come there. Okay, fine. We'll just continue. 125. Heading Krishna is Sambandha. Sambandha refers to Krishna. Shuddha Bhakti Abhideya. Abhideya refers to Shuddha Bhakti. Premai Prayojana. Prayojana refers to Prema. Literally, what he's saying is Sambandha means the central topic of reference. So the central topic of reference in all the Vedas is Lord Krishna alone. Abhideya means instruction. The instruction of the Vedas is Krishna Bhakti, pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti to Lord Krishna alone. Only Shuddha Bhakti. And Prayojana means the goal or the ultimate necessity. The ultimate necessity for the living entities is nothing but Krishna Prema. Abhideya Nama Bhakti Prema Prayojan Purushartha Shiromani Prema Mahadhan. Devotional service or sense activity for the satisfaction of the Lord is called Abhideya because it can develop one's original love of God, which is the goal of life. This goal is the living entity's topmost interest and greatest wealth. Thus, one attains the platform of transcendental loving service unto the Lord. Okay, we come to Amrta-Pravaha. जीव मायामुग्ध होइया कृष्ण स्मृति ज्ञान होइते वंचित होइले. देखिया अपार करुणामयी कृष्ण वेद पुराण शास्त्र प्रकाश करिया সেই শাস্ত্র রূপে এবং শাস্ত্রার্থ প্রদর্শক গুরু এবং অন্তর্যামী আত্মা রূপে জীবকে নিজ তত্ত্ব অবগত করান. When Lord Krishna of unbounded mercy, Lord Krishna who possesses unbounded mercy, sees that the jivas are bewildered by Maya and they are deprived of remembrance and knowledge of Lord Krishna, then he reveals the Vedas, Puranas, the scriptures including the Vedas and the Puranas, and in the form of the scriptures, in the form of the Guru who reveals the meaning of the scriptures, that means the teaching of the scriptures, the conclusions of the scriptures, and in the form of the Paramatma Antaryami, the inner controller. He makes the living entities understand the truths pertaining to himself. सर्व वेद शास्त्रे संबंध ज्ञान अभिधेय ज्ञान और प्रयोजन ज्ञाने शिक्षा अच्छे. In all the Vedic scriptures there is instructions pertaining to knowledge of sambandha, knowledge of abhideya, knowledge of prayojan. Now sambandha itself means the central point of reference. Abhideya means instruction. Prayojana means the need, the goal. In other words, in addition to believing in the Vedas, Shraddha. One should have an understanding of Sambandha, about the central point of reference, who is Lord Krishna. So, Shraddha, Pragya, and then one should also know what is the goal to be attained. There is a goal that the living entities who have taken shelter of the Vedas are meant to attain. They should hanker for that goal. They should pray to Krishna to become eligible to attain that goal, and so on. Spriha. And they should also know about the actual practical instructions of the Vedas. These instructions, Abhideya, refer to bhakti, the process of devotional service to Krishna, which are meant to be executed, implemented, kriya. Shraddha, Pragya, Spriha, Kriya. So all of them are required. And the Vedas, they teach us what you're supposed to know regarding Krishna, what you're supposed to desire, and what you're supposed to implement, what you're supposed to do. Jibe prapya Krishna jai tattva taha sambandha jnane avajja. In knowledge about sambandha, about the central point of reference or relationships, the truths pertaining to Krishna, who is meant to be achieved by the jivas, is found. Say Krishna praptir sadhaner naam bhakti. And the means to attaining that Lord, the means to the attainment of Lord Krishna is what we refer to as Abhideya, which is actually bhakti. Tahake Abhideya bole. That is actually Krishna bhakti, and that is referred to as Abhideya. Krishna prapti te premaname ekti vichitra vyapar ache. And there is a very astonishing we say vichitra vyapar. There are certain wonderful engagements which are referred to as love of Krishna when we talk about attainment of Lord Krishna. And the name for that is Prayojana. It is the goal. 125, anything here? Yes. Vedashastra Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan Itrividha Vishay Akhyata hai. In the Vedic scriptures, there are three subject matters which have been described: Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. Shuddha Jivya Prapya Krishnai Sambandha. Krishna, who is meant to be attained by the pure jivas, is himself that Sambandha, the central point of all reference. Prapya Krishna Sevar Sadhane Abhideya. The means towards attaining service to that Krishna who is meant to be attained is referred to as Abhideya. Evam dharmartha kama bhoga rahita moksha. E charity purushartha apeksha shrestha mahadhan rup prapya Krishna premai prayojan. And prayojana, or the goal, refers to Krishna prema itself, which is meant to be attained as the great wealth, and which is better than the four purusharthas, dharmartha, enjoyment of dharmartha kama, or attainment of liberation, which is distinct from such forms of material enjoyment. Okay, another question.
Is there any relation between Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan and these four Shraddha, Pragya, Spriha, Kriya? These two sets, are they related to each other?
Yes, there is pramana and there is prameya. Within prameya, we have Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. Pramana means source of valid knowledge. Prameya means the content of valid knowledge. So the ultimate source of valid knowledge pertaining to what I am, what I need to attain, and so on, comes from Vedic scriptures, which is the unadulterated Shabda Praman. That is Pratyaksha, Anuman, Shabda, three sources of valid knowledge. But if one wants to know about why he is here, why this world is here, what is the relationship between me and this world, what about God, what is the relationship between God and this world and me, and so on, then first of all he needs to accept some source of valid knowledge. Who am I going to accept as? On what basis am I going to come to certain conclusions? So when he accepts Vedic literature, then he says that the Vedic literature, Veda Shastra, that is my source of all knowledge. Now what does the Veda teach then? That is the Prameya. So we have Pramana versus Prameya. Source of valid knowledge, content of valid knowledge. Now the content of valid knowledge itself has three divisions: Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. Sambandha here refers to the central point of reference. What is all the Veda, the entirety of Vedas, what is it ultimately talking about? Is it talking about one topic ultimately overall, or is it talking about various disconnected topics? No, it is not talking about various disconnected topics. They're all talking about a single subject, Krishna. Okay, that is knowledge about Krishna. So we need to have that knowledge about how everything is related to Krishna. Then, do the Vedas also say what you need to desire to attain as a goal? Yes, the Vedas also say what you need to desire. What is the goal that you are meant to hanker for? Because without that hankering, you cannot attain any goal. So what you are meant to hanker for? You are meant to hanker for Krishna Prema, not any of the lower goals, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Now, how do you attain that goal? Simply by hankering is not enough. You need to do certain things. What do you need to do? There, what you need to do is referred to as Abhideya. What is the means to attain that goal? So, and that is bhakti. More clearly, sadhana bhakti. The prayojana would then be prema bhakti. So that is more or less a clear presentation of how they are divided. For pramana, there has to be faith. We need to have faith in the source of valid knowledge. Then when it comes to the content of valid knowledge, since they are also divided into Sambandha, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana, one needs to identify which one falls where. Pragya, one should have clear understanding, clear knowledge, clear understanding of Sambandha. One needs to desire to attain Prayojana, and one needs to execute bhakti. So in that way, there's a straightforward matching. Pramana, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana, naturally, they will correspond to Shraddha, Pragya, Kriya, and Spriha, respectively. Okay?
Bro,
Yes?
no, bro, done. Thank you, bro.
All right. Purport. The Cartesian soul is bewildered by the external material energy, which fully engages in sense gratification in various ways. Due to engagement in material activities, one's original Krishna consciousness is covered. However, as the Supreme Father of all living entities, Krishna wants his sons to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, he personally comes to deliver Vedic literatures like the Bhagavad Gita. He engages his confidential servants who serve as spiritual masters and enlighten the conditioned living entities. Being present in everyone's heart, the Lord gives the living entities the conscience whereby they can accept the Vedas and the spiritual master. In this way, the living entity can understand his constitutional position and his relationship with the Supreme Lord, as personally enunciated by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Vedasya sarvair ahameva vedyaha. Through the study of Vedanta, one may become fully aware of his relationship with the Supreme Lord and act accordingly. In this way, one may ultimately attain the platform of loving service to the Lord. It is in the living entity's best interest to understand the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, the living entities have forgotten that this is in their best interest. And therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Nate vidu swartha gatami Vishnu. Oh, they do not know that Lord Vishnu himself is their self-interest. Everyone wants to achieve life's ultimate goal. But due to being absorbed in the material energy, we waste our time with sense gratification. Through the study of Vedic literatures, of which the essence is the Bhagavad Gita, one comes to Krishna consciousness. Thus, one engages in devotional service called Abhitheya. When the living entity actually develops love of God, he has reached the ultimate goal prayojan. In other words, one who becomes fully Krishna conscious has attained the perfection of life. Heading Sadhana Bhaktir Sadhya Premer Cheshta. The goal of sadhana bhakti is nothing but the activities of love of God. 126. Krishna Madhurya Sevananda. Krishna Madhurya Sevananda. Aptir Karan. Krishna Seva Kore or Krishna Rasa Aswadan. There's a variant reading here. Krishna Madhurya Seva Praptir Karan. Which would then mean the sweet service to Lord Krishna is the goal which can be attained through service to Krishna. Krishna Seva Kare, Krishna Rasa Aswadam. After which one, a religious Lord Krishna. Prabhupada's translation. When one attains the transcendental bliss of an intimate relationship with Krishna, he renders service to him and tastes the mellows of Krishna consciousness. Amrta-Pravaha. Yes, it's not there. Okay. 127. Okay, there's a question there.
Prabhu, when we say that Samanda, Abhideya and Prayojan, Samanda is the relationship with the Lord and Abhideya is the process and Prayojana is achieving the Supreme Personal Godhead. So the process is now Sadhana Bhakti. So in the Sadhana Bhakti, then it comes, you surrender unto Guru and follow his instructions and read Vedic literatures and do service. And then again, there are so many things to do. So what is the complete package that if we explain to someone, really just like when a student, he joins college, so he has to read for 4 years, then he completes his degree, then he will attain job. So what is that complete package that I don't, still I feel confused, I think. We say that you have to read Gita, then Bhagavatam, then Chaitanya Charitamrita, Then you have to read the previous Acharya's books. So when he's attaining his goal, that I am not able to understand. Can you?
See, when he is attaining the goal, that is a discussion about how he attains prayojana. But before that, you asked a question: how do we know what is the complete package of Abhideya itself? Abhideya is summarized in Upadeshamrita. There are several steps in Abhideya. Similarly, there are a number of steps presented in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in its description of sadhana bhakti also. So there we will find information pertaining to Abhideya. Now, how does one attain prayojana? When he has full faith in the Vedas, when he has correct knowledge without misunderstandings about Lord Krishna. About Lord Krishna means because Krishna is the central point of reference for everything. One needs to understand how everything is related to Lord Krishna in the right manner. Then apart from that, he has to execute certain activities which come under the Abhideya category. That means there are certain things to be done, certain things not to be done, and so on.
So then, what about the following previous Acharya's books and all?
Everything comes inside that. Everything comes inside that. Everything comes inside those 64 items of sadhana bhakti. If you think 64 is too much, then you can look at Navavidha Bhakti. 9 stages of 9 varieties of bhakti. That is also there.
So now reading all the Srila Prabhupada books, then reading previous Arya's book, that is only included in this sadhana bhakti.
Yes. It either comes under gathering correct knowledge under Sambandha, or if you want to understand the various principles of devotion service, that will come under Abhideya.
Okay, bro.
Okay. Okay, then let's go to the next verse. चतुर्विध अभिधेय मध्ये सकल शास्त्र एकमात्र शुद्ध भक्ति रही निरापदत्व को अनायसत्व वर्णन. Amongst the 4 types of Abhideya, in all the scriptures, it is described that only Shuddha Bhakti is devoid of crisis and is easy. Upama, a comparison. Sarvagya va Siddha Mahajaner Upadesh. Instructions from a Sarvagya or a perfect great soul. 127. ইহাতে দৃষ্টান্ত জয়ছে দরিদ্রের ঘরে সর্বজ্ঞ আসি দুঃখ দেখি পুছাইয়ে তা হারে. The following parable may be given. Once a learned astrologer came to the house of a poor man and seeing his distressed condition questioned him. Okay. What is 127? Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya. জীবের কৃষ্ণ বহির্মুখতা ক্রমে নিজের স্বরূপ স্মৃতি লুপ্ত হইলে, when as a result of being averse to Lord Krishna, the jiva forgets about his own swarupa. Swarupa lupta hoile. when his memory about his Swarupa is lost. Krishna Veda Puranadi Kuriya Apnake Prakashita Kuriyachan. Then Lord Krishna, he reveals the Vedas, Puranas and so on. And he reveals himself. Daridra o Sarvagyar Katha Tahare Upama. And the parable of the poor man and the astrologer is presented in this regard. 127. Sarvagya Bhagavata Madhva-Bhashya Drashtavya. Which is regarding Sarvagya. One should see Madhvacharya's commentary to Srimad Bhagavatam. And he refers to the commentary to texts 5.5.10 to 13. Purport. Sometimes we go to an astrologer or palmist when we are in a distressed condition or when we want to know the future. The living entity in conditioned life is always distressed by the threefold miseries of material existence. Under the circumstances, he is inquisitive about his position. For instance, Sanatana Goswami approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Caitanya Mahaprabhu, to ask him why he was in a distressed condition. This is the position of all conditioned souls. We are always in a distressed condition, and an intelligent man naturally becomes inquisitive. This position is called Brahma Jigyasa. Pathato Brahma Jigyasa. This is the very first verse of the Vedanta, first sutra of the Vedanta Sutra. Brahma here refers to the Vedic literature. One should inquire. Of course, Brahman refers to the Supreme Brahman that we know, but on the basis of Shabda Brahma. So, Brahma Jigyasa means Parabrahma Jigyasa on the basis of Shabda Brahma Jigyasa. One should study the Vedic scriptures in order to understand the nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So, both the Supreme Absolute Truth is called Brahman, and Vedic literature is also called Brahman. One should consult the Vedic literature to know why the conditioned soul is always in a distressed condition. The Vedic literatures are meant to free the conditioned soul from the miserable conditions of material existence. In this chapter, the story of the astrologer Sarvagya and the poor man is very instructive. 128. Jibe Nitya Siddha Bhav Krishna Prema. The eternally established feature of the living entity is his love for Lord Vishnu. Tumi kene dukhi, tomarache pitridhan, tomare na kohilo annatra chadilo jivo. The astrologer asked, why are you unhappy? Your father was very wealthy, but he did not disclose his wealth to you because he died elsewhere. 128. Nothing. 129. Sarvagyer bakye kore dhoner udeshe oiche Veda Puran jibe Krishna upadeshe. Just as the words of the astrologer Sarvagya gave news of the poor man's treasure, the Vedic literatures advise one about Krishna consciousness while one is inquisitive to know why he is in a distressed material condition. On 29. Sadhya premar sadhan bhuta bhaktir avashya kartavyata. It is absolutely essential that one engages in bhakti, which is actually the sadhana, in order to attain the sadhya, which is Krishna prema. So, prayojana is also referred to as sadhya, and abhidheya is also referred to as sadhana. Then, of course, Sambandha is commonly referred to as Tattva. And Pramana is referred to as Pramana. So, it is absolutely essential that one executes sadhana bhakti in order to attain sadhya bhakti. Sadhya bhakti is called Krishna Prema Bhakti. Shastre Tahai Vidha. This is what is actually taught in the Vedic scriptures. An important point. 130. Jive Nitya Sambandha Krishna yi Sarvashastrer Uddishto. Krishna, who is eternally related to the living entities, is the central focus of all the scriptures. Sarvagyer Bhakya Mooladhan Anubandha Sarvashastre Upadeshe Shri Krishna Sambandha. By the words of the astrologer, the poor man's connection with the treasure was established. Similarly, the Vedic literature advises us that our real connection is with Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.26, Shri Krishna says, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu na veda na kashana. Arjuna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Thus, Krishna knows the cause of the distressed condition of the conditioned soul. He therefore descends from his original position to instruct the conditioned soul and inform him about his forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. Krishna exhibits himself in his relationships in Vrindavan and at the battle of Kurukshetra, so that people will be attracted to him and will return home back to Godhead. Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the proprietor of all universes, the enjoyer of everything that be, and the friend of everyone. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam, sarvaloka maheshwaram, sukhridam sarvabhutanam. This is all Bhagavad Gita 5.29. If we revive our original intimate relationship with Krishna, our distress condition in the material world will be mitigated. That means we'll become free from all the distresses because we'll be taken out of the subtle body, the gross body. We'll not have to reincarnate here. We will not have to experience the limited spiritual happiness of experiencing oneself as being distinct from matter. We will not have to experience the tiny little happiness of dharmartha kama, and overall continue to suffer in the atmosphere of threefold miseries. That is why Prabhupada says our distress condition in the material world will be mitigated. Everyone is trying to adjust to the distress conditions of material existence, but the basic problems cannot be solved unless one is in intimate relationship with Krishna. So this is, ultimately speaking, the means to get out. Okay. Nitya Siddha Bhaver Prakriti Baddha Jiver Sadhana. And this sadhana for conditioned souls is nothing but making the dormant, eternal affection one has for Lord Krishna to manifest it is what is referred to as sadhana for the conditioned souls. 131. Baper dhon ache ज्ञाने धन नहीं पाए तबे सर्वज्ञ कहे तारे प्राप्तिर उपाय. Although being assured of his father's treasure, the poor man cannot acquire this treasure by such knowledge alone. Therefore, the astrologer had to inform him of the means whereby he could actually find the treasure. 132 এই স্থানে আছে ধন যদি দক্ষিণে খুদিবে ভীমরুল বরুলি উঠিবে ধন না পাইবে. The astrologer said the treasure is in this place, but if you dig towards the southern side, the wasps and drones will rise and you will not get your treasure. Abhakti marg. First of all, this is a description of pathways which are not Krishna Bhakti. Bhukti labhartha karma marge vibhat ashanka. On the pathway towards attaining bhukti, which is the pathway of karma, there is always the fear of various calamities. That is 132. Anything in 132? 132, 133, both are together. Okay, so this we'll look at it. Now 132 to 135 are together in Anubhashya. So we'll keep moving forward. 135 is also commented on Amrta-Pravaha. Okay, in 133. Heading Vibhuti Siddhi Labhartha Yogamarge Vipat Ashanka. The second non-bhakti pathway presented in the scriptures is attainment of various vibhutis or yogic achievements. Vibhuti Siddhi, attainments of various material opulences. But these also, in this pathway also, there is always a fear of some calamity. And then he says, Paschime khutibe taha joksha যক্ষ এক হয় সেই বিঘ্ন করিবে ধনে হাত না পড়ে. If you dig on the western side, there's a ghost who will create such a disturbance that your hands will not even touch the treasure. 134. Sayujya lavartha jnanamarge vipat ashanka. In order to attain Brahma Sayujya, merging into the impersonal Brahma, that is the pathway of Jnana. But this pathway also, in this pathway also, there is always the fear of a calamity. Uttare khudile ache Krishna ajagare ধন nahi pabe khudite gilibe sobare. If you dig on the northern side, there's a big black snake that will devour you if you attempt to dig up the treasure. Then 135, heading Purva ba Purano ba Nitya Shashwata Dhan Krishna Bhakti Ekamatra Apat Shunna. Whether new or old or eternal, wealth, the wealth of Krishna Bhakti, that is the only pathway that is devoid of calamities. Only pathway which is devoid of calamities. This is brought out in text 135. Purva dike tate mati olpo khudite. Notice this, olpo khudite. So it is not filled with, it is not as difficult as the other pathways. That is the first point of observation.
Only by digging little, alpo khudite.
Yes. Only when one digs a little bit. He does not have to dig so much. Dhaner jhari, Poribe, Tomar, Hatete. However, if you dig up a small quantity of dirt on the eastern side, your hands will immediately touch the pot of treasure. That is why he is saying here there is no Vipod Asamka. Here this is Apachshunya. It is not as much filled with various complicated risks. Apad means crisis. 135. Ved ও পুরাণ শাস্ত্রে অনেক প্রকার উপায়ের কথা স্থানে স্থানে লিখিয়াছেন. In the Vedas and the Puranic scriptures, various types of means have been written in various places. তাহাতে কোন দিকে ভীমরুল বরুলি অর্থাৎ বলতা রূপ কর্মকাণ্ড. What is it? Bolta.
Wasp.
This,
Wasp.
what language is this?
Bolta is Bengali.
Okay.
Wasp. Here it comes. Wasps and drones will rise.
Okay. So these things are going to come, and this is a metaphor for karma kanda. Kono dike jnana kanda roop yakha, yaksha. This is also another very troublesome pathway, jnana kanda. Kono dike Krishna varna ajagar roop jogagata kaiballa. And then here's another pathway. The pathway towards kaivalya, impersonalistic isolation from this one. This has been compared to a black snake. অন্যদিকে রক্ষিত ধনের পাত্র অল্প পরিশ্রমে হাতে অনায় আসে. And then with little endeavor, one comes across a pot filled with wealth which has been well secured. অতএব বেদশাস্ত্র কর্মজ্ঞান ও যোগ পরিত্যাগ পূর্বক ভক্তি পথেই যে কৃষ্ণ প্রাপ্তি হয় ইহা বলিয়াছেন. Therefore, the Vedic scriptures say that one has to abandon karma, jnana and yoga. And undoubtedly, one has to abandon sinful activities. And then one should take up the pathway of Krishna bhakti in order to attain Krishna. This has been stated in the scriptures. That is text 135. Is that also here? Okay, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has given an explanation. উপমেয় যথা পূর্ব দিকে কৃষ্ণ ভক্তি, দক্ষিণ দিকে কর্মকাণ্ড, পশ্চিম দিকে সিদ্ধি কাণ্ড, মতান্তরে জ্ঞান কাণ্ড, উত্তর দিকে জ্ঞান কাণ্ড, মতান্তরে যোগ কাণ্ড. Regarding these comparisons, in the eastern side is Krishna bhakti, southern side is karma kanda, western side, according to one opinion, is siddhi kanda, the pathway by which one can attain yogic siddhis. But some say that this is the jnana kanda. And then in northern direction, there is jnana kanda, and according to some others, that is where the yoga kanda comes in. ইহার উপমান যথা পূর্ব দিকে পিতৃধন, দক্ষিণ দিকে ভীমরুল বরুলি, পশ্চিম দিকে যক্ষ, উত্তর দিকে কৃষ্ণ সর্প. Now here, for three of these places, so for four of these places, then you have various objects of comparison. On the eastern side is actual wealth of one's father, Pitridhan. In the southern side are these wasps. Is that correct? Yes. On the western side is a yaksha. On the northern side is a black serpent. Dakshina margiya sadhanai karma phala bhoga par karma kanda. Jamadandagam dakshinagraham kariya. Fal arop kare. The pathway in the south, that is the pathway of karma kanda, which focuses on enjoying the results of pious activities. Jamadandagam dakshinagraham kariya. Fal arop kare. Persons who are fit to be punished by Yamaraj, they accept dakshina and they superimpose these goals in their practices. Ei karma marge jeev bhog vasana roop bhimarul murli kartrit dashta sthane dashta hoiya klesh labh kare. In karma marga, the living entity is bitten by the desire for pious material enjoyment, and because of that they experience various forms of difficulties. Ihate tahar bhoger asha purna hoena. Their desires for material enjoyment are not fulfilled. Uttarotter vriddhi prapta hoy matra. They simply increase more and more and more. That is why it is compared to wasps and drones. Uttara margiya sadhani siddhi pancha par yoga marga. And then you have the northern pathway. The northern pathway is the pathway of hankering for the various perfections of the yoga system. Tahate Kaivalla Roop Krishna Varna Ajagar Sarpa Shuddha Jeev Satta ke grass kore. And through this pathway that leads one to Kaivalya, which is isolation of the soul from matter. Then the black serpent swallows up the existence of the pure jiva. Kaharo mate uttarmargiya sadhani nishkam jnana marga. According to some authorities, the northern pathway is actually the pathway of nishkama jnana. Tothai Shuddha Jeev Satta Brahmasaya Jiru Krishna Sarper Pabala Grasta. If that were to be the case, then the pathway that is presented in the north would refer to Nishkama Jnana Marga. And the existence of the pure soul is now caught up by the black snake in the form of Brahma Sayujya. Okay, so we'll stop with that. Any questions, they can be brought up within the group itself. Okay, fine. I have to continue from the purport next time, next session. Vanshakalpatarvyashiga prasandabhyacha Bhattanam Bhavanabhya Vaishnavabhyo Namo